Hi, welcome to today's trivia. My name is Sarah Crawford. I am the Sexual Violence Prevention and Harm Reduction Coordinator. Thanks for coming. This is our Get to Know the College, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll in Mental Health. It's by Counseling Services, which you'll learn more about, Project Lighthouse, and the Umbrella Project. So we're going to be starting soon. So the first question is, what are some ways you can ask for consent? The first answer is, can I blank your blank? Second is, can you do this to me? Third is, I like it when you, and fourth is all of the above. So the answer was all of them. So ways you can ask for consent is like, can I do this to your this? Can you do this to me? I like it when you blank. And all of those things are good ways that people can ask to hook up with someone if they're interested in them. The next question is, what are things you can do to boost your mental health? Drinking coffee is number 1. Staying isolated is number 2. Eating junk food is number 3. And making social connections is number 4. So the best way to boost your mental health is through making social connections. But we did say things like, eating junk food are okay sometimes, right? I mean, our mental health is going to be best when we're, feeding it well and sleeping and drinking water and making some social connections and feeling good about things. But sometimes we are going to want to, not talk to anyone, and we are all isolated right now. And sometimes it's okay that we want to be alone, and sometimes it's okay that we want to eat a Big Mac, right? And so those are all things that sometimes we want to do, but it's best on a sometimes thing for us. So question number 4 is, who can you talk to if you need support for substance use? A counselor, family and friends, a peer at All People, All Pathways, or all of the above? Okay, so we've got a few different answers there. So we have counselors on campus. They can do something called a harm reduction consultation. They can help students decide or talk about their substance use and decide if they want to help them make changes or anything like that, to try and reduce the harms of the substances they're using. Lots of people will talk to their family and friends if they need support with their substances. They can be a great resource, especially if you're already in recovery or want someone to talk to about helping to make you changes, or if you're thinking about, stopping drinking or lessening what you're doing. Having those conversations with the people that you normally hang out with can be an important step. Appear at All People, All Pathways is also important. So we have started running every Monday something called All People, All Pathways, and it's all about meeting people where they're at with their alcohol and other substance use, and having conversations with folks who are in different stages of their harm reduction journey and seeing if they want to make positive changes and impacts to their lives. So the next question is question number 5. True or false? Having sex should be like ordering a sandwich. Okay, so we've got 1 true and 1 false. So
Leanne, I hope
shockingly,
this one was the false one, eh?
no, it's true. This one was a true one. So
Oh, really?
I know it was a sort of a trick question. So we have this thing at Algonquin College, and it's called the consent sandwich. So I'm going to send it in the chat for folks so that they can see it there. But basically, the idea behind the consent sandwich is that when people are going to order a sandwich they will ask for different meat and cheese and bread and toppings and get exactly what they want. But when people are hooking up, they don't have conversations about what they're into, and they kind of just fumble through. And so we've developed this thing called the consent sandwich. And so I've just posted the consent sandwich in the chat. Basically, the idea behind it is that when we're hooking up with our partners, we can go through and talk about the different things that we're into. So things like this, different steps on the menu are equitable to having those conversations with our partners. And so we want people to feel encouraged to go through, fill this out, and have a conversation about the sex that we're interested in. Because we want it to be like going to Starbucks or going to Subway and saying, I want this and these toppings and these things. And we think that sex should be the same. The next question is, counseling can only happen when we are on campus. So counseling can only happen when we are on campus. True or false? Okay, so the answer is false. Great job, folks. We are able to offer counseling offline. So our counselors have been working throughout the pandemic. Online. So they've been working throughout the pandemic through using Zoom and Teams to meet our students, as well as phone calls. So our counselors are there to support you in any way you need, with things like mental health, career counseling. So we just want to make sure that people know that that's just something that we're still offering. We've gotten a few questions about if it's happening while we're offline. So we just want people to know. Okay. The next question is, the Umbrella Project helps students understand how to use drugs safely. So that's true or false? Okay, so we've got some answers. Okay, the next question is about Project Lighthouse. So Project Lighthouse is all about waiting until marriage to have sex. True or false? Okay, we've got one true and one false. The answer is false. Project Lighthouse is all about meeting people where they're at, and having conversations about hooking up, regardless of if people are married or not. We want people to know that we support them and that we are there to have conversations with them about consent and dating. We also recognize that, you know, some people are never going to hook up with folks or do want to wait till marriage, and that's okay. So wherever people are at, wherever, whatever kind of sex they're into or not, that's okay. And we support folks. So we just want to provide information to people, and whatever's applicable to them in their relationship is fantastic. Okay, so question number 9. Counseling services are most effective one-on-one. So we've got some trues and some falses. So the answer is actually false. Counseling services can be good. We have group counseling, and counseling services can be great for anyone. So counseling services can be good for anyone. We have different groups available for folks. We will post it in the chat here, but there's all kinds of good things, like we have a DBT group. We have some groups where we do arts and crafts. We have different mood groups and virtual cafes. So all kinds of different events that we have throughout the week with our group counselor, Patty. Patty's supposed to come at 2:45, which would be great. So here is the group counseling schedule, and you can meet her and learn more about the groups that we offer. But counseling can be great for anyone, whether it's one-on-one or in a group. Okay, drinking beer is the safest way to prevent a hangover. True or false? So again, the question is, drinking beer is the safest way to prevent a hangover. Okay, and the answer is false. So it depends on the alcohol content that we're participate, or that is in each drink, whether or not we'll be intoxicated. So one of the things that happens when we drink alcohol is that it triggers our brain into trying to release all of the water in our bodies. And so being dehydrated is one of the main things that leads us to having a hangover. So it's really important, if we are drinking, to make sure that we are drinking water or with each drink, so that way we're hydrating, because alcohol naturally forces our body to try and release as much water as possible, even the good water that doesn't have alcohol in it. And so really a hangover comes from dehydration. So it's really important for people to stay hydrated when they're drinking. It's the same for other substances, alcohol and other drugs. It's, want to be hydrated and make sure you're not dehydrating. So that's something that can be really important to do as well. Okay, next question. Being drunk is the best way to have sex. So true or false? So, yep, all of you got it right. So wasted sex is really risky, especially with new partners, because we're not sure how drunk people are when we're hooking up with them. So we recommend that it's best to exchange numbers and check in with folks instead of hooking up wasted, because we just don't know how drunk people will be. And so alcohol can affect people differently. So sometimes one person could take one drink and they could be really drunk from that, and other people could drink lots of drinks and that could make them drunk. So it's best to try and exchange numbers instead of hooking up. Okay, next question is about counseling. So you have to be depressed or anxious in order to access our counseling services. True or false? Okay, I only saw 2 responses there. I'm just waiting for people in the chat. Okay, great. Okay, so the answer is false. So you can go to counseling for a variety of different reasons. So they have career counseling. We've got groups to make some great social connections and friends. Each group is different. Some of them are just about chatting and meeting new people. So all different reasons people can go. You can go if you have depression or anxiety as well, but we want people to know that they can access counseling before things get bad, right? So a lot of people wait until, they're feeling really depressed or really anxious in order to go, but it's kind of like fixing your car, right? You go a few times throughout the year just to make sure that you are having a tune-up and that your car is good and safe. And so it's the same for counseling. We just want people to know that it's okay to go and have a conversation with someone before things might get bad or before you're really stressed in the semester. So people who use drugs regularly have addiction issues. True or false? Okay, so I've only seen one answer so far. You can type your answer as well. You can send them directly to me if you want, but we've got some coming up. Okay, so I'm seeing the answers of false, and that is true, or that is a false. You are right. Yes, correct. Sorry, Michael, Michelle, don't change your answer now. That's cheating.
No. I meant to say it's false.
You already put that. We went with that. I given you the point.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But yeah, so people can use alcohol and drugs regularly without ever having any addiction issues. So when we talk about addiction, it's really if something is negatively impacting someone's life. So if you're able to go to work and to go to school and you're not spending all your money on alcohol and other drugs, then people can use them and have no negative consequences for them. However, some people, can have issues from the first time that they ever use substances. So it really depends on the person. So yeah, it's best not to judge people who are using alcohol and other drugs. And if you're not sure, you can always attend some of our other events on campus where we talk about safer substance use. Okay. which of these is, which of these answers asks for consent? So something like, I guess. Answer number 2 is if we have to. Answer number 3 is hell yeah. And answer number 4 is I have a headache. So which of these statements, if your partner said them to you, would be giving consent? B, if we have to, isn't consent. So the best one is hell yeah. I guess also isn't really consent. So what we want people to know is when they're hooking up with someone, the best way to get consent is to be enthusiastic and excited about it. So if we're asking someone for permission to hook up with us, the best way to do that is by saying something like, hey, do you want to have sex with me? Or hey, do you want to make out? Right? And whatever it is you're intending to do. If the person's like, oh, I have a headache, not tonight, that's not consent, right? And so often a lot of folks will think that it is, or, you know, they kind of say, oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. The person will say, okay, yeah, I guess if I have to, or those kind of things. But that doesn't actually mean that they wanted to do it. That means that you pressured or changed their mind into participating in something. So it's really important that when we are hooking up with people, that we make sure that we're checking in and asking for consent, and that way we can make sure that they want to hook up with us and they're excited about it. Yeah. So the next question is, which of the following is not offered by counseling services? So is it A, long-term counseling, B, individual counseling, C, group counseling, or D, online tools and workbooks? This one's kind of a hard one.
Even though sorry, I need to comment in here. Even though I think nowadays everything is kind of online and stuff, but it was a tricky question.
It is tricky. So the answer is actually long-term counseling. So counseling
Yes, that's what I
services
thought.
will provide individual counseling to folks. So you can see a counselor one-on-one. I've talked about the groups. That one was an easy one. We have lots of online tools and workbooks for people to help them. You know, lots of people like that between appointments or whatever. They can check in with that. But what we don't do is offer like long-term or ongoing counseling. You can see counselors while you're at school, but after you're no longer a student, you're no longer able to participate in counseling. So that is something that we wanted folks to know. Okay, we just have someone new entering. There's only 3 questions left. So we have 3 more questions in our quiz. The next one is about a drug called fentanyl. So fentanyl is a drug that is very potent. And so we're wondering why it might be profitable for people to make fentanyl. So fentanyl is profitable for drug dealers because A, it's very potent, so a small bit goes a long way. B, it's synthetic. C, because it can be made really quickly, or D, all of the above. So again, the question is, why is fentanyl so profitable for drug dealers? Is it because a little bit goes a long way? It's synthetic. Is it because it can be made quickly, or all of the above? So question number 17 is, your consent is violated when? So your consent is violated, or your consent is not given or respected when? A, your limits or safe word are ignored. B, you are manipulated or forced into consenting. C, when the agreed upon safety measures are not used. Or D, all of the above. Okay, awesome. Okay, so, okay, perfect. Okay, so the answer was all of the above. So it's really important when we're talking about hooking up with people that we make sure that our limits are taken into consideration. So if someone says, I'm interested in making out, and then all of a sudden they're naked, that wasn't what we consented to or gave permission for. So we don't want to force people into something that they're not interested in doing. Again, like I said before, really saying like, oh, come on, you want to, that's not good. And when we talk about agreed upon safety measures, things like condoms, if we said we'd wear them and then all of a sudden someone takes it off or something like that, that's not okay. Or if someone's says they're on birth control and they're not, like those things are not providing a consensual sex. So really making sure that we talk to our partners about what we're interested in and respecting their wishes. Okay. This one's a true and false. So true or false, we all have mental health.
Wow, what a tricky question.
Okay, so everyone picked true. The answer is true. So mental health is the same as saying like we all have physical health or we all have emotional health. We do all have mental health. And so mental health can be positive or negatively impacted by something, but we all have a baseline of mental health. But we don't all have mental health issues or a mental health disorder. And so that's sort of the difference is a lot of time we use mental health to say certain things, but it can be positive. People can have, really positive experiences with their mental health. And that's something that we often don't talk about as well. So it can be really important to remember that just like physical health, if we aren't feeling well, we can go to the doctor and have a conversation. It should be the same for our mental health, right? We've got the counselors here to support us. Patty should be here any minute, just dropping in and saying hello. So we've got the counselors here on site having these conversations with us. And if we needed to, we could talk to our doctors about our mental health if we weren't feeling well. But it really should be something that doesn't have stigma with it, that we should feel okay to have conversations about, because just like our physical health, or, if I broke my arm or I had heart disease, I'd be okay, having those things. A lot of people have stigma around mental health, and we just want people to know that they'll be supported, but we all have mental health and various levels, and there'll be times in people's lives when things are maybe going better than other times, and that's okay as well. Okay, so this is our last question. This one's for all of the sweet gift cards. So I'm just gonna type out the letter beside each one while we go. And here we are. So question number 19, this is our last one. What is addiction? Is it a disease chronic in nature? Is it B, a disease? Is it C, a fear? Or is it D, something you could easily say no to? So what is addiction? Okay, did everyone answer? Seen. Perfect. Okay. So, in fact, it's actually a disease that's chronic. If people have addiction, it's something that stays with them for the rest of their lives. There will be times where people, depending on who they are, some people want to be in recovery or not. Addiction is a disease chronic in nature because when we have addictions, they stay with us forever, right? And so people who have alcohol dependency or addiction, or who are working in recovery, we don't ever say that they're no longer in recovery, right? So if people who are abstaining from using alcohol or other drugs, depending on their addiction, they're in recovery forever, sort of like we would say if someone had cancer, right? They've recovered from breast cancer or something. And so that's why it's a disease and it's chronic. It's not something that people can just have more willpower or do it. It is something that really should be treated with kindness and compassion, because people are working hard every day on their addiction, just like so it's something that's really important for folks to know, is that depending on where people are in their harm reduction journey, it's best to just support them and accept them for who they are and where they're at. But recognizing that addiction is chronic and forever. So Patty, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so I'm the group counselor. We do a number of different groups, unstructured. We only have one structured group. That's the one I just finished. It's more about giving people an opportunity to connect, to feel less isolated. Yeah, so there's a number of like we do a mindful check-in in the mornings on Tuesday and Thursday just to get people going. Yeah, we do one working with emotions. Sarah and I do a like a gab session, which is, again, it's about getting people talking, feeling less isolated. Did you want what did you want me to speak about specifically? Counseling services?
Just counseling and what groups,
Okay.
what you have going on.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I do, but separate from that, we also have individual counseling that if people are, wanting to talk, it could be about stress, it could be about academic stuff, personal, career. So it doesn't have to be mental health related all the time. It could be preventative. It could be like, hey, how can I improve some health and wellness? Sometimes when we're thinking of counseling, we shy away from it because we think, there's a stereotype or stigma that I'm crazy, and that's not it at all. Like, we all face stress, and it's good sometimes just to connect with people when you need to, and sometimes it's even good to connect in advance before you're stressed. So that's an option too. So we have individual, we have self-help options that we could kind of direct you to if that was your thing, online supports. Yeah, I think that's about it. 30-minute sessions, half an hour, or an hour sessions, depending on what you need. Yeah, so it's flexible, and we try to tailor it to meet the needs of, the people that are coming in. So
Awesome. Okay, thank you.